You know, 4G this, 4G that, there's no denying it. 4G's out there everywhere. You know, you hear 4G on Verizon, on Sprint, on AT&T, on T-Mobile. You hear it everywhere. Billboards and advertisements and more. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and along with that 4G advertising scheme, you see a lot of phones with it as well. You have the HTC ThunderBolt on Verizon, first phone to have 4G LTE capabilities, and then you have the HTC Inspire 4G on AT&T. 4G capabilities as well, although there are some issues with the upload speeds on this that people are complaining about. Otherwise, specs are very similar. 1 GHz Snapdragon processors in both of these, 4.3-inch displays, no front-facing camera on the Inspire, but front-facing camera on the Thunderbolt. Both have 8 megapixels cameras. Body's a little bit different, but hey, $100 for this one, $249.99 for this one. Is the speed bump on Verizon enough to make it, you know, worthy of consideration? So I'm not going to talk about a lot of the apps because honestly both of these are, you know, with the exception of the hardware differences and some other minor software things like apps, they're almost exactly the same in terms of device capabilities. We'll look at the cameras shortly, things like that, but I do want to cover just the keyboard so you get an idea. If you haven't used an HTC device, then you don't know what the keyboard looks like. It looks like this. And the interesting thing with the Verizon one, you cannot sideload apps on the AT&T Inspire 4G. Like any of the other AT&T Android devices, they've restricted that. You can sideload apps on this one. So if you want to do another keyboard. That said, the Gingerbread keyboard is actually downloadable from the Android market. As of the time of shooting this video, it's downloadable. So you can get that if you want to and throw it on your device. And since it's a market download, it's not considered sideloading, but we can say the quick brown fox likes candy. So quick brown fox likes candy looks like in portrait and in landscape mode, and it looks exactly the same on the Inspire. Now, performance, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about performance, quadrant standard, speed test, things like that. But before that, I want to take a look at the camera and kind of get an idea of what the front-facing camera looks like on this one, and then the 8 megapixel looks like on this one. So let's bring in my typical little thing here that I got in Germany on the way to Mobile World Congress. And the camera on both of these devices, it's been absolutely fantastic. Bring that in, bam. So you can see quality absolutely fantastic. You can easily read it. And then let's switch it over to the front face. Oh, no, not that, sorry. The front-facing camera. So we can see, who's that good-looking guy right there? I don't know. See, so the front-facing camera quality is pretty good as well, even though it's only 1.3 megapixels. Decent for video chatting, things like that. Now, Skype is not enabled on this device right now. Hopefully it'll come in the future, but you should be able to download things like Quick. And I know there's some other options. I think Tango is one of the options, which I heard about recently. So let's take a look, actually, and see what's in the market. Quick. Let's try Quick. Let's see if it's in here. Yeah, Quick is, and then I think Tango was another one. Pretty sure Tango was it. Yeah, Tango video calls, which actually they reached out to me. Hopefully we can try that in a future video. Tango video calls is there. We can download that. And here's what the new Android market looks like if you haven't seen it. I know it's a lot to cover in 2 parts of a video, but if you want to see more, my recommendation would be take a look at these devices in store, and you should be doing that anyway before you buy. I do want to point this out because I always love these little software differences like this. If you go into messages on this one, you'll notice that it's a little bit different on the AT&T version. You'll see that it doesn't have those buttons down there on the bottom like it does on the Verizon version. The reason for that, it separates SMS and MMS and voicemail in that typical sense way that sense lovers know and love, if that makes any sense. You know, this little separation here, it's clean, it's easy. Voicemail, visual voicemail is an extra $2.99 from Verizon. But you can separate between all messages, SMS and MMS, or just voicemail. Whereas this, you know, obviously MMS and SMS are the only options. Visual voicemail, it doesn't come preloaded on this by any means. So, you know, it's just messages. Just text or MMS messages as opposed to this. You can, you know, select which one you want to go to. And like I said, this is part of Sense's overall organizational structure, where you look at people, for example. We'll go to Billy Bob, and we'll do, down here, you know, with Billy Bob, I can see, let's say we've been sending text messages and calling each other all day, because we're the closest friends in the world. Go down here, and you can see messages. I can see just the messages I sent to Billy Bob. as opposed to the whole list of messages I've sent to everybody. Mail, I can see mail. Now this is interesting because it actually doesn't show up Gmail accounts, or Gmail stuff doesn't show up. So if you want to see your messages, then you have to set up Gmail or whichever account you have as a mail account and not as a Gmail account. Go over here, updates and events. You can see any updates and events gallery, call history, and more. So it's all easily organized into a little nice little panel down here at the bottom, if you will. Quadrant standard time, then speed test, and then we'll get out of here. Run full benchmark on both of these. I'll talk about call quality. I was a little disappointed in the Thunderbolt in both Charlotte and in Orlando. It worked just fine on the first couple of days that I got it. No problems with the LTE. I mean, it was blazing fast with no lag whatsoever on both the device and the network. You know, easy to use. Used it as a hotspot. Worked great. And then I went to Orlando, and not just at the trade show, but several miles away, 5 or 10 miles away, I was still having LTE issues. Not only on this, but also on the little Pantech data stick as well that comes on Verizon. So, you know, it's definitely an LTE issue. It's not a phone issue, but still, since it is Verizon's first LTE device, or phone rather, it was a little bit frustrating, and I've had the issues since I've gotten back home to Charlotte. So, you know, it was an issue. Inspire, on the other hand, been pleased with call quality, and I've been pleased with call quality on both of these, but I was, the data was a little bit more consistent on the download. Upload is way too slow on this. Like I said, they have not enabled HSUPA, so download speeds are pretty decent. Upload speeds, absolutely terrible, so keep that in mind. Benchmark results, 1,720 on the Thunderbolt, 1,740 on the Inspire 4G. So by 20 points, the Inspire 4G takes the quadrant standard test. Now take these with a grain of salt. You never know what's going on. You know, in 20 points, that's well within the margin of error, but still, by a narrow margin, the Verizon Thunderbolt loses to the HTC Inspire 4G. All right, speed test between these two devices, but before we begin, let me warn you, take it with a grain of salt, because speed test actually cannot read the upload speeds of the Thunderbolt. So that's what's going around right now, that it's so fast that it actually can't read it. So when you see this heavenly fast upload speed on the Thunderbolt, keep that in mind. That said, let's give it a test. And like I said, you know, I've had some issues with both of these devices, so it'll be interesting to see what the speed test numbers look like right at this second. Download about 10 megabits per second on the download on Verizon, 22 megabits per second on the upload. Like I said, take that with a grain of salt. If you really want to see it, buy the device, hotspot, you know, do the mobile hotspot, and then do speed tests from your laptop. That's a more accurate picture as to its capabilities. This one about roughly 3 megabits per second, so much faster on the Verizon end on the download. Upload miserable on the Inspire 4G, like you can see. Upload, I can't really give a prediction, but usually uploads are in the 3 to 7 megabits per second range on the Thunderbolt true upload speed. So something to keep in mind. So, you know, winner has to be declared in the dogfight. You know, and it's one of those tough situations where I would declare a winner depending on what I'm looking for, what the person's looking for. That said, the overarching winner is the HTC Thunderbolt. You know, despite what you think about the battery life or the LTE frustrations, LTE is darn fast. It works well most of the time, and this is an awesome device. Feature-packed, 1 gigahertz processor, big display, 8 megapixel camera, kickstand. It's got it all. It's kind of like the Evo on Verizon. That said, if somebody came to me and said, I'm looking for a great smartphone at a good price, or, you know, honestly, if you were to ask me, I'd probably go with the Inspire 4G, and I'll tell you why. One, $100. You can't beat that. I mean, big, high-end HTC device for $100. That's quite the steal. And, you know, really, when you look at these, with the exception of the front-facing camera, LTE, and a couple of other minor things, they're very similar. And actually, this one has a better version of HTC Sense. So it's one of those things. Take it by what you want. Take it, you know, find that list. Name out what you want in your device, and then make a decision, because $250, $100 for me, you know, I'm a pretty cheap guy. I like to go with the cheaper stuff, but I think you'd be pleased with both of these devices. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. We're going to do some more HTC Thunderbolt dogfights, so be on the lookout for those this week. More HTC Inspire dogfights as well. So be on the lookout for those too. And be sure to like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're giving away some iPads, some phones, all kinds of cool stuff at Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Like us for your chance to enter the colossal iPad 2 and smartphone sweepstakes. And be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron, with any questions, thoughts, comments. You think the Inspire is the best in the book? You think the Thunderbolt is quite the awesome storm? Haha! Let me know. Facebook, or I mean, excuse me, PhoneDog_Aaron. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.